happening? It's the Everything Pats podcast, a New England Patriots podcast, and got a special guest. Now, last week, we had the other guy from Catch 22. This week, I figured it was only the right thing to do to get Alex Barth on the program. So I do want to say this ahead of time. As I said last week with Evan, we're recording this on Thursday evening. If any breaking news happens, don't yell at me. It is what it is. Schedules happen. So we're going to talk about camp. We're going to talk about joint practice. We're going to talk about, of course, the preseason game coming up tonight between the Pats and the Commanders. Alex, thanks for always joining me, man. I always appreciate the time. Of course, 98.5 The Sports Hub. You know all about Alex. And every time I have these guys back to back, I got to make sure I don't call Alex Evan or Evan Alex. So hopefully it doesn't happen. But here we go. Let's start with Drake Maye. No better place to start. Has Maye, Alex, exceeded your expectations so far through this camp?
Yeah. Especially, I mean, I would say that the joint practice probably put the cap on that. He's definitely met them. Maybe yesterday was where you start talking about maybe exceeding a little bit. I just think the big thing is, you know, the question coming in, the major question coming in was how was he going to pick up Josh McDaniels' offense? And was it going to be too much for him? Was it going to be something he was able to operate in comfortably? Was it going to be something where he could still use some of those electric physical traits within the context of the offense and not constantly have to break script? And, you know, going back to the spring, the questions about that looked warranted. And that's why they have all these practices, because you're not going to be perfect on day one. But I think yesterday was a great example of just him looking comfortable, him looking in control. He was making decisions quickly. He was getting the ball out quickly. He was making the right reads. I think he did a good job of elevating the unit around him, especially the offensive line. He was his own best pass protector at times. So I think he's definitely checked to this point, and we'll see how it looks, you know, in the preseason and those joint practices in Minnesota will be interesting. But I would say to this point, like, I think he's done a good job addressing, and then the turnover thing, a lot of the big questions that we had about him coming into the summer.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, next week's joint practices against Minnesota will be tougher. They've got a really good and talented defensive line, I think better than Washington's. But as far as the preseason game tonight, now, Vrabel said this before the joint practice that most of the healthy players should expect to play. He's not sure how much they will play. My question for you, does Maye play? And if he plays, how much do you think he's out there? How long?
I think he's going to play. Like, the fact that Vrabel said healthy players leads me to believe that they're going to want guys to play. Maybe not a lot, especially since Washington's not playing their starters, maybe a series or two. Maye did play a lot in that joint practice. And we know coaches talk about it as combined reps. Quarter at the most. But again, I would say a series or two is kind of what I'm expecting, but I do think we'll see him.
All right. Aside from Maye, I would say the biggest offensive story seems to be Trayvon Henderson with his impact so far on this camp. Is there a world, Alex Barth, where Henderson becomes the lead back? Not the bell cow, but is there a world where he could be the lead back this season?
I don't think so. I still think, and that goes to how McDaniels uses his running backs. You know, I assume you mean like usage rate when you're talking about that, who gets more snaps, who gets more touches. I don't think so. I think it can be close. I don't know that he's ultimately the lead back in a volume sense, but the moments that are heightened, right? 3rd down, 2-minute drill. I absolutely think there's a scenario where, like, he's the guy. It's not splitting. I think he's the guy when you get into those high impact moments. Part of the reason he was able to take another step at Ohio State last year was they dipped his usage. They got Sean Judkins in the transfer portal, and it freed him up, I think, to be a more explosive player. I wouldn't fight that if I'm the Patriots. I think you can get a lot out of Trayvon Henderson in 18 to 20 snaps a game. And if Ramondre Stevenson's in there for the other 25, 30, that's still less than he's been playing in recent years, which is good. They've run him into the ground. But he's still somebody who's more built to take up that more physical role. So I don't think Trayvon Henderson's going to be a guy we're going to, like, when I say not see a ton, I don't think he'll ever be over like 50% of the snaps. But Alex, I think it might. So I was going to say, I think it might feel like it, given some of the moments he'll be playing in.
Sorry for jumping on you there. Alex Barth with us, 98.5 The Sports Hub. You can listen to him there. And, of course, he does the Catch 22 pod with Evan. Lazar, who we spoke with last week. You can check that out. Usually, sometimes this moves around, but usually Wednesdays. Are you doing 2 episodes a week this year? Or are you sticking with one? What's going on with that?
As of right now, I know it's 1. We were just for this week and next week too will be on Thursdays, just to work around 1 the joint practice schedule, and 2 I was on Felger Maz yesterday, and I'll be on again next week on Wednesday. So just shuffling things around a little bit.
Well, that's good for you. I mean, you're on Felger and Maz, so that's not a bad trade-off for a Wednesday. And by the way, Fred Kirsch, get these guys on 2 times a week during the season, please. Come on. All right, let's get back to business. More surprising to you when we look at wide receiver, is it Kayshon Boutte pushing for the 3rd spot, or is it Javon Baker now pushing for the 6th spot?
So I said after the first week of camp, I gave the take, and I said it was the kind of take I'm whispering, not a take I'm yelling, but I gave the take. Javon Baker's having a lowercase g good start to camp, and I got laughed at for that. And now look where we are. So I am I'm surprised by both. The thing with Kayshon Boutte for me that's just impressive is I knew he had high level ability, but it was really flashes. Like 40% of his receiving yards last year came in, I think, just 3 or 4 games, whatever it was. And one of those was 100 plus yards in the week 18 game against Buffalo. Like, and that going back to his first couple training camps here, you would see these awesome individual practices, and then he'd go 3 or 4 days without a catch. And it's just, if you're going to be anything more than a 4th or 5th rotational guy, it can't be that spotty. Even if the spots are high, it can't be that spotty. And the consistency was never there. And I didn't think it was going to be. Credit to him. Like, honestly, the highs have not been as high as they've been the last 2 years with Kayshon Boutte. I don't really care, because he's going out there and he's making a couple of solid plays every practice. And that's, the highs will come. I'm not worried about with him. I just needed to see more between them. I needed to see more meat on the bone, and he's now doing that. And he deserves a lot of credit for that. The coaching staff deserves credit for that, and that could be big for them. I would say that probably surprises me more than Baker, just because to edge out Mac Hollins, who's had success with Josh McDaniels, to edge out Kendrick Bourne, who's had success with Josh McDaniels, whereas Baker's beating out Jalen Polk, who I think was clear from the start of the summer was not as invested in bouncing back as he should have been, to edge out Efton Chisholm, who I know everybody likes, but is an FCS UDFA. Like, I just think Boutte probably had a little higher hill to climb than Baker did. But I think I would say, compared to expectations, Baker might be exceeding expectations more than Boutte has.
Yeah, the thing that surprises me the most, and maybe I was just way off base here, but a couple of months ago, I did an episode about Kendrick Bourne, and I said I thought he could have a bigger impact than people were giving him credit for, based off, as you just mentioned, his history with McDaniels, his best season in the NFL. He also was having a good 2023 before the ACL. And I thought, hey, I'm not saying 80 catches or anything bananas, but I thought he would have an impact. And tell me if I'm wrong here, but I know he's got the injury right now, but his roster spot seems far from being safe.
Yeah, and this is where, I don't know, maybe this is me as a Kendrick Bourne guy just trying to explain it away. Like, is he getting less reps because they don't think he's as good, or is he getting less reps because he's the only receiver that's been in this offense and he knows what he's doing, and they want these other guys to get more opportunities to learn it? And, you know, when they get into the real season prep coming out of the Giants preseason game, we'll start seeing Kendrick Bourne ramp back up, right? Maybe that's a glass 3/4 of the way full way of looking at his limited reps. But, you know, just, I saw somebody tweet this the other day. I don't remember who. I apologize, I can't give credit, but somebody said, if you didn't know Kendrick Bourne's name was Kendrick Bourne, you didn't know his history with the team, you'd say he wasn't making the team. And yeah, I think there's some truth to that. So I'm bummed. I thought, like you, people were sleeping on him. I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid from that run he had in 2021 when he was on 1,000-yard pace before he got COVID. He would be one of the great failures of this, not him personally, his Patriots tenure to me would be one of the great shortcomings of like the late stage Belichick era, because I really think they had something in 21, and then he got in the doghouse for all the wrong reasons in 22. Yeah. And he came back. He was good in 23, and then he got hurt. And then, you know, last year he started playing well, but everything was just such a mess around him. There was a ceiling on that. Like, every time they put him on the field, it felt like he made plays that, like, I just feel like there was a lot of missed opportunity with Kendrick Bourne as a Patriot. If this is it for him, I hope it's not. But like now, again, I'm talking about going off of something I saw in 2021. That's 4 years ago. That's, he's now 30 on the other side of a torn ACL. I understand if you're never going to capitalize on that. I wanted to see it. I was hoping to see it. He would have been such a cool guy to see be good here.
Yeah.
I just wonder if they missed the boat too many times. And at this point now, it's just age and injuries have caught up to him. And it's 2 coaching staffs later. And just it's just the logical breaking point.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was on him. He's talked about it. Some of it was on, I think, the coaching staff, and then just bad luck with the knee injury and the COVID. It has been a little bit messy for Bourne. I'm with you. I like the guy. I think he's a good NFL receiver. And, I'm interested to see if they end up, if he is going to be gone, if they could get something of value. And I'm looking at San Francisco. Ayuk, obviously, that situation's a big question. Jawan Jennings now angling for a contract. So you might be able to see something happen between those 2 teams. And obviously, they were having that conversation last year with Ayuk, and Bourne was reportedly involved in that conversation. Speaking of wide receivers, Alex, I did want to ask you, how many do you think they carry into the season? Because I see pretty much everybody. I mean, Bedard, Daniels, I think Gorigian, I think even Kide. It feels like people believe they're going to take 7 receivers into the season. I think they're going to take 6. Do you think they take 7?
Push comes to shove, I think they'll keep 6, because I think if they're going to keep 7, they can get a trade value. They'll get something in a trade for the 7th guy. Ultimately, I think there's a case to make 7. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. There's a case to make that there should be 7. Can they get something for Bourne? Can they get something for Javon Baker? Like, Javon Baker, the reason he's getting the opportunities he is now is because he was good with the 2s and 3s. And that doesn't mean he's going to be good with the 1s, but he was good with the 2s and 3s. If you put him out there in the second half of these preseason games against scrubs and just let him light it up, can you get a 6th-round pick for him from a wide receiver needy team? Yeah. Washington could certainly use a guy. They're going to get a good look at him, right? So I had 7 on my first roster projection after the spring. I think I'll probably have 6 on my next one. I'm kind of rough drafting it right now. If they keep 7, I wouldn't be surprised. I just think at the end of the day, they'll find a trade partner and the 7th guy. They're not going to cut like a rosterable guy, but that doesn't mean they'll keep all the rosterable guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look at it, it's like edge is pretty tough. I mean, Elijah Ponder with what he's doing, maybe he kind of hangs in there. Him and Jennings kind of battling there. So that spot's tough to figure out the numbers. Safety is tough to figure out the numbers. Whether or not we'll talk about Kyle Duggar later, but safety is a very interesting spot, and wide receiver is. One more question about the receivers. How do you think they handle that rotation tonight? Do you see Diggs playing? Do you see Pop playing? Do you see, Booty? Does he get out there as a 3rd guy ahead of Hollins? How do you think they handle that rotation?
Also, just real quick, I apologize if I'm getting my days wrong and I'm talking about tomorrow when it's tonight. I know you said we were pre-recording this. This is my 3rd of 5 podcast today. My brain's on another planet right now.
It's all good.
Not that I'm not giving you my 100%, Nick. I promise I am, but 100% of what I can give you.
No worries.
I like Diggs. If they're going to hold him out for part of the joint practice, I can't imagine they'll play him. Pop, with his injury history, doesn't play a ton. Kayshon Boutte, I think his spot's locked up. Mac Hollins, I wonder. I go back and forth on that. Does he play more because he missed more time in the spring and it's a catch-up period? Or does he play less because he just came off PUP and maybe they're worried? I think Javon Baker's going to play a lot. I think Jalen Polk's going to play a lot. I think Efton Chisholm's going to play a lot. I think those are the guys you'll see the most of.
I like to see Williams out there. I think.
Oh, I totally forgot about Kai Williams. Yeah, I think he'll be more in that play a lot category.
Yeah, I'd like to see him play a bunch. See what he can do. Get him some reps, get him some opportunity. He's right now he's the 5th or 6th guy. Get him out there and see if he can make the most of it. All right, Alex Barth with us, of course. 98.5 The Sports Up, Catch 22 podcast. Don't forget, while we're hanging out here, to do a couple things to help out this channel and this podcast. Throw that thumbs up, throw a like out there. Likes, comments, all of those help. We're inching towards 7,000 subscribers. So help us there by subscribing. Spotify, Apple Pods, our friends over there. Continue to follow Continue to rate and review. Appreciate every single one of you. Let's jump to the offensive line. How confident are you after that joint practice in Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, holding their water? Not being great, but at least being able to hold their water on the left side this year.
I mean, off that practice, I feel good about it because that's what they did in that practice. And they got some help from Drake, but they're going to have that in games. I would say right now, I have more concerns about not really about Michael Onwenu, I guess I have more concerns about Morgan Moses than Will Campbell at this point. And that can change, but I feel good about where Campbell's at. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year. I don't think he's going to be the best tackle in football, but I don't think we'll be, rolling our eyes every week, starting every one of these podcasts with the offensive line sucked, the left tackle couldn't block, which is what we were doing last year. So I feel the same as I did about him coming out of the draft, honestly. Like, there's definitely areas of his game where he needs to improve, but I think he can be a starting caliber left tackle in the NFL, and I think he can do that right away.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I think I'm not going to throw this on you, obviously. I know you're put in a very difficult position, especially when you're on with Felger and Maz and those guys. I do think some of the radio stuff has been a little bit overboard. Shocker. The one-on-ones and stuff like that. From everybody that I've read, everybody that I've talked to that has been at camp tells me that when he's in team, he's been rock solid in team. I know Evan has he's really planted the flag in the run blocking part of his ability. So I think some of that has been a bit overblown.
Sorry to cut you off. I think it's just the nature of the offensive line. Like, he did have that one day, really one period. He was fine the rest of the day. The one period where he allowed 2 sacks to Caleb Chase on, but some of that's the nature of the offensive line. Like, if a wide receiver has a good day, what's a good day for him? We're going to come on and say, hey, the wide receiver had a great day. He caught 5 passes. He caught a touchdown. He made this unbelievable catch, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right. The best case scenario for an offensive lineman, I said, somebody called Catch 22 a couple weeks ago and said, what's an ideal situation, an ideal season for Will Campbell? I said, we say his name twice. We say it once when they draft him, and we say it once when he's named and once when he's named an All-Pro. We don't say it at all in between. Like, that's kind of, so it's tough to come on. He's not like having these dominating pass blocks where he's putting guys on the ground. He doesn't need to do that, but he's not doing that. He's just blocking them. They're not getting to the quarterback. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. They're just not. So the coverage might be equal in terms of what you're hearing, good and bad, because, it's like he said, and in that interview at LSU, right? Defensive lineman gets 1 sack a game, first round pick. Offensive lineman allows 1 sack a game. They're working at Amazon. So I think that's just where some of it comes from. Like, we're not gushing over Will Campbell because there's just not that much to gush over outside of the run blocking, but that's not, he doesn't play a position that you're gushing over. So you don't, oh man, he made this great block where he set his feet and the hand placement was just right. And one, it's hard to do that without film to begin with, but that's just not how you cover that position. It's not like this guy made a one-handed catch. You just don't really do that with the offensive line.
Yeah, and I said this, all good points by you. Now, I said this about Mike Onwenu yesterday, where it's like, I haven't read anything about Onwenu, which is good. Like, if I'm not reading about Onwenu, losing his ass at right guard and, he looks out of shape. And I haven't really heard much of a peep about Onwenu, which tells me he's doing the job. He's fine. Let's keep it moving. But speaking about Wilson and Campbell, I wanted to ask you similar question to kind of, the Maye thing in the receiver rotation. How important, Alex, is it to get those guys reps in the preseason, especially on that left side?
I mean, it's important. The Commanders don't exactly have an elite pass rush. And, when they play the Giants, even next week with Minnesota, I think the level of competition matters at this point, especially for Campbell. Jared Wilson, for me, I'm curious, have they decided he's our left guard, period, full stop? Or is there still a chance he gets back in the center conversation?
I'm worried about Bradbury, man. I'm worried about Bradbury.
I am too. Now, I don't hate Ben Brown. I don't hate Ben Brown. And look, Jared Wilson did have a couple of bad snaps at the start of camp, and it was after those 2 that they kind of stuck him at left guard. So maybe those 2 things are related. But if they're going to put him back in the center conversation, I'd rather do that sooner rather than later, so you can work on those kinks that happened with the bad snaps and just him and Maye's chemistry and him making some of those checks. So I'd be a little more fired up with that. if he's just going to be a left guard, and that's even if it's just for this year, they're going to move next year, right? Like if they've decided he's our left guard, we're going to figure it out at center, but he's not ready for that, or we just think he's better at left guard than center. I mean, it's important for him to get reps like any rookie. I don't know that it's heightened compared to the average rookie like it would be at center. But you obviously want to see him in game action. Like, I think that's important. And for him, like the Commanders' interior is good.
Yeah.
So he's going to have that level of competition thing more than Campbell does. With Campbell, I want to see him against some of these more elite pass rushers.
And that's why I think Minnesota next week,
yeah.
Look, the first big test was Washington. Nice. They passed the test. Preseason game. Let's see what happens tonight. I put more into the joint practice than the preseason games nowadays anyway. Next week, you get to the joint practices. You've got a number of guys on that defensive line. You've got Van Ginkel. You've got Grenard. And they completely have, changed their interior defensive line. They put a lot of investment into that interior defensive line. A couple guys that could drive you crazy. And let's not forget. Now, I know it's joint practice. We'll see how much O'Connell and Vrabel kind of have that conversation like he had with Quinn about what are you going to do, what do we want to do, and all that kind of stuff. But I would kind of love Brian Flores to open it up a little bit. We know that he can be. Yeah. We know that he can be very creative and give different looks. And if I'm Vrabel, no contact to the quarterback. Hey, man, if you want to throw some of the kitchen sink at us during that joint practice, I wouldn't be against that. So I think next week's joint practices are going to be much more interesting than this week's. I want to jump to the defensive side. Alex Barth with us. Just a few more for you, Alex.
Yeah.
Pass rush. Has it been a pleasant surprise to you so far?
Yeah, I'm bummed K'Lavon Chaisson got hurt because that was a really fun, like his ascension was cool to watch. And did they find something here? And is this a lot of what we heard with this defensive coaching staff when they hired them specifically? Like one of the big talking points was they develop pass rushers and linebackers. Like they're really good at that. They have a long history of it. So you get a guy with the first round pedigree who's still young for how long he's been in the league. He's only 26. Did they unlock something here? It doesn't sound like his injury is anything serious where like he'll miss actual games, but just felt like he had momentum. You hate to see that halted. He's been good. They've had some other guys mentioned. Elijah Ponders kind of made a little bit of noise. Truman Jones, the kid from Harvard, has made a little bit of noise. It reminds me of their wide receiver. Honestly, their pass rush reminds me so much of their wide receiver group, which is you got a bunch of guys that can play and are solid and belong. But if you just had that one apex guy dictating the coverage, dictating the blocking scheme, creating gravity to open opportunities for other guys. Matthew Judon was like this, right? I just think it would be at such another level. So honestly, to play that analogy out, right? Stephon Diggs, Harold Landry, older guy, has played at a high level. It's been a little bit, does have some more recent injury history. If he can really turn back the clock, you're cooking with gas. Even if he's like 80% of that, he's good, but he's maybe not that apex guy you've been looking for. K'Lavon Chaisson, Mac Hollins, guys that have been in the league, have shown some flashes, don't have the high level production, but are steady veterans. Kyle Williams, Braden Swinson, that one's obvious. Keon White, Pop Douglas, guys that we think can be high level players, have flashed high level ability, but maybe haven't done it as consistently as we want. And there's some, questions about injuries there. I forget who my comp was for Keyshawn Boutte. I think it was Anthony Jennings, a guy that just kind of looks like a pro. We know now more where Boutte fits than where Jennings fits. And then to extend that analogy, because people hear that and say, well, no, the linchpin of their pass rush is Christian Barmore and Milton Williams in the middle. And yes, it is. But there's something different schematically when you talk about creating that gravity and dictating the way the opponent plays. It's just when the guy's on the edge, it's just different. It makes everything harder. Kind of like how in the pass game, yes, your apex pass catcher can be a tight end, but it doesn't necessarily have that same gravity as it does when it's a receiver. So Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, Hunter Henry, and Austin Hooper.
I like it. Well, we're talking about interior defensive linemen. It's perfect. You lead me to this.
Yeah.
Barmore, Williams. And I also want to put Tonga in this conversation because I've read and I've heard a lot of things about Tonga. What is the ceiling of the top three interior defensive linemen? I know, Evan early on questioning whether or not they get enough beef in the middle of defensive line. Do you think they're good? Do you think they're possibly really good in that middle with those three guys?
So I think the pass rush is really good. I feel great about the pass rush. They're going to be able to collapse the pocket, get after the quarterback, create havoc. I feel good about that. I still am iffy on the run defense. They're not the biggest group. Milton Williams does not have a ton of history as a run defender, and he kind of struggled with it early in camp. He didn't really play the run in Philly. And so it's not that he can't do it. He just hasn't. So it's an unknown. And then he didn't do it great here early on. What I feel a little better about is I was like, all right, well, they paid Milton Williams, however many $100 million. And are they going to take him off the field if he can't stop the run? Even if they do, who are they going to put in there that can play in all situations? Not all situations, but like Khyiris Tonga there's more to his game than I gave him credit for. I thought he was going to be a guy that's going to come in 20-25% usage rate, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, right? Play on the goal line. That was going to be it. Purely stop the run. Nobody's going to mistake him for Aaron Donald or even Vince Wilfork, but he can collapse pocket a little bit. Like he can win with the bull rush. And I don't know that I'm playing him on 3rd and 10, but some of these tweener downs where it could be run or pass, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2, right? Those kind of situations. He might not look out of place. Based on what he's done in camp, he might not look out of place in there. So if you are struggling against the run, you can put him out there a little bit more than you otherwise would. Like my fear for them, I love their secondary. There's questions about health. If everybody's healthy, I think their secondary rules. It's the best thing they have going for them. They're going to be a hard team to throw on. Problem with that is if you can do what the Jaguars did last year in London and run the ball 17 times in a row, that doesn't mean anything, right? So they don't need to be the best run stopping team in the league, but they need to do it enough that it's a deterrent. And I do have some concerns about them getting to that level. If Tonga can be a guy that can play 40% of the time and you can put on the field on a 2nd and 5, I feel a little bit better about it. I do. So that's still my big question with their defense is the run defense. Tonga's ascension has been important. That would answer, not completely, but it would help answer some really pressing questions, I think.
Want to get to the secondary quick here. Obviously would not expect Davis or Gonzalez out there in this preseason game. So who should fans be watching in that secondary? I'm reading about DJ James. I've been a fan of Alex Austin when we've seen him, when he's been out there on the field. Just tell me about the secondary, those other guys that not Davis, not Gonzalez, what you've seen, how you feel.
So those two guys are corners 3 and 4. And I like both of them. I really like Alex Austin. I love the way he plays. I like physical corners. He manhandles guys within the rules, but like he manhandles guys. I'm a fan of his. DJ James, it's been cool to see him come on. I still think there's room for one more corner. Patriots fans should watch him because half the fans probably don't know he's on the team because they signed him in like a run of roster moves the other day. Trey Avery is going to make the team. I'll tell you that right now. Trey Avery is going to be on the roster. This is a guy that they claimed off waivers. They didn't just sign. They claimed him off waivers. So that means they like him. Played for Vrabel in Tennessee. And he was a primary special teams player who mixed in on defense when needed. That's exactly what Marcus Dial did last year. Marcus Dial just got hurt, and it looked like Dial was going to make the team. He gets hurt. They signed Trey Avery the same day. Like, that just feels, unless he sucks, unless he goes out there and is horrible, I think he kind of is penciled in for a roster spot, just based on the way that whole thing played out. If he performs at average, he's going to make the team. So it's going to be the first look at him. But if he has a solid game, like he's somebody that should get a little more attention because I think he's the Marcellus Dahl replacement. I don't like that they're jumping Isaiah Bolden. I want to see Isaiah Bolden get more run. I've said that for 3 years. I'm just starting to think that that's one I need to give up on. But Trey Avery is somebody that should get some attention here down the stretch, even though he just got here.
I mean, I give you credit for holding on to the Bolden thing for 3 years. So that's good commitment, solid commitment from
There's
you.
always a couple of those guys. It's like, why aren't they playing this guy more? And sometimes it's nice when they don't play him because when they do play him and he sucks, you have to eat crow. Whereas, with Isaiah Bolden, if they never play him, I think I would be right. I think he would be good. But if they never play him, I can say like, I wasn't wrong. We just never found out.
I like it. I like the angle. I think I like your Bourne angle earlier better than that angle, but I like both angles.
Well, the Bourne one's a little bit of delusion. I will fully admit that, but I'd like to be right about that, but I don't think I'm going to be right about that.
Hey man, is Kyle Duggar in trouble?
I don't think so. Not in the sense of the roster spot. I wonder if he's maybe still banged up a little bit, which would not be good because now this thing's really lingering and he's just not the same player when he's dealing with this injury. He was back with the ones yesterday. Yeah, if he's playing, towards halftime of this game, I'd be worried. I'm not totally ruling it out. I just think one practice is a little much to jump on that. And they have real free safeties now. That's what was killing them. He's not a free safety. Jabril Peppers is not a free safety. And they've put those guys back there, and it's hurt both of them in times.
Yes.
If you can put Jalen Hawkins back there, or you can put Marcus Epps back there, who truly do it. Craig Woodson's a little bit of a tweener. If you can put those two guys back there who truly do it, and let Peppers and Duggar just kind of hunt the football from the box, I think you're going to get a lot out of those guys. If they put Duggar at free safety, I'm going to be worried about him because it's just not his position. They're playing him out of position.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. He's been a nightmare in coverage too many times for my liking. Keep him closer to the box. If you got to go at Hawkins, try to continue to push Craig Woodson, get his reps up a little bit, see what he can do. I don't want Duggar on the back end. It's a nightmare. All right. I have one more question.
I'll just say this real quick on that.
Sure.
If they are ultimately choosing between Peppers and Duggar, I do think Peppers is the guy. I don't think that should be a conversation.
I mean, I think Peppers, people overlook how good he's been. I mean, if you look at Pro Football Focus and some of the analytics, as a Patriot the last couple of years, I mean, I know last year was the off the field stuff and all that.
Right.
But, before that, before he ran into those off field issues last year, he's been really good for them. And I certainly would lean towards Peppers versus Duggar at this point, given just the big plays that Duggar's been a part of, even in this camp. He's still and guys get behind him. It's a problem. I got one more question for Barth, but first, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Help us out. I simply cannot have Alex Barth on this podcast and not ask him a special teams question because I know that's what makes him sweat and his heart thump. So who does Alex Barth have winning the kicker competition? Is it Andy Baragalis or is it Parker Romo?
I still go Borg. Look, they've both been unbelievable. They're just both it's insane. Romo just missed for the first time yesterday, which is nuts. They're both good. Ty's got to go to the draft pick, I would think. But I did have this revelation the other day, and I wrote about this on 985thesportshub.com a little bit, that we use the field goals as a barometer because it's easy, right? It's good. Yeah. It's not good. It's very black and white. We can count it. Great. There is another part of this competition that, if not the tiebreaker for the field goals, might be the main thing. It doesn't look like Bryce Behringer is going to do kickoffs. It looks like it's going to be whoever the kicker is. And with the way they tweaked the kickoff rules again this year, Jeremy Springer said he expects more returns, which I interpret as the Patriots are going to allow teams to return the football and not hit kickoffs and not hit touchbacks and get the ball back to 35. You got to be able to spot the ball. Like, if they want to allow returns and you're putting the ball in the end zone, that's not good. That's not going to help you. And if you can't get it, like if they want it inside the 5, you can't be putting it at the 6. You got to put it at the 5 or inside the 5. So it's a little less black and white because they might have coverage plays on that depend on the ball hitting a certain spot. And what looks like a good kickoff may be fine, but it's not exactly what they wanted. And there's more interpretation there that we don't know. But I would say, just from what I saw, I'd give the slight edge to Borgalis on the kickoffs. I think he looked a little better. Romo had a couple more touchbacks, but that's going to be something else to watch. Hopefully the Patriots are scoring a lot in these preseason games. So now most people would say that because they want the offense to be good. I'm saying hopefully they score a lot because I want to see as many kickoffs as possible, because I think that's going to be as much a part of the kicker battle as it is as the field goals is or are. But I think ultimately it ends up with Romo or with Borgalis.
Lazar on the O-line, Barth on special teams. That's the good stuff.
I got Evan to do 5 minutes on the kickoff roll today in Catch 22. So.
I haven't been able to check it out yet. I've been doing all my podcasts, recording a bunch of stuff. I can check it out later. But I mean, that's a win for you. That's a big time win for you to get him going 5 minutes. His name is Alex Barth. 98.5 The Sports Hub, Catch 22. You know all about him. You can follow him on Twitter. Popular guy, grinder, does a ton of work. I've told him this behind the scenes. I'll say it in front of the camera. Love seeing Alex continue to progress in the media. I think he's worked his tail off. Went to the combine this year for 98.5 for the first time, and he deserves it. Deserves everything that he gets. So I hope everybody likes this episode, appreciates this episode. I will talk to you on Monday. Until then, be well.